Hey everybody, this is Mrs. Dobbs, and we are jumping into our next unit in lab science, which is going to be the digestive system. So normally if we were actually in class, we would have these projected for you guys and we would be doing highlighter notes. Well, since we can't do that, we're just going to make things work. So I'm here to read these notes to you guys and kind of explain what is going on. And you guys will see, we had to scan these in, so you're going to see me have to transition from page to page, but hang in there with me and be patient, try and figure this out too. So in our last unit, we were talking about the human body and maintaining health. So we were talking about, our bones and our joints and our tendons and how all of those work together. We touched into our body's homeostasis, so how we stay, healthy and normal, the way that we should be. So we were talking about astronauts and how they go to space and their body isn't always the same as it was when they come back because they're not able to work out and their blood flow and now is all messed up. And so maybe they are out of homeostasis. Or when you guys are sick, you guys are out of homeostasis. Your body is fighting though to get back to its normal. Well, now we're going to zone in a little more closely. And instead of just talking about the body as a whole, now we're just going to talk about certain systems. And so we're going to jump in first with our digestive system. So just like we talked about our bones and how they have three main functions. So, we know now that bones give us structure so that our body has form. Otherwise, we would just be a bag of skin laying on the ground, which would be gross. So our bones give us our body structure. They protect our internal organs, so maybe we get hit with something. Well, our lungs or our heart will be safe because our bones are there as a guard to protect us. And then we also know like our bones are used so that we can move, so that I can pick up a water bottle off the table or I can kick a ball across my yard or something. So we know that our bones are also used so that we can just function in everyday life. So let's jump into what our digestive system is. Um, so we're going to start with talking about the three main functions now of our digestive system. So one, it breaks down food into molecules that the body can use. More on that later. Two, molecules are then absorbed into our body. And three, wastes are created and released by the body. So let's give a definition to what digestion is. So our definition for class purposes is the process by which your body breaks down food into smaller nutrient molecules. And there are two main types of digestion, one being mechanical digestion and the other being chemical digestion. And if you guys can think back to a couple of units ago, we were talking about mechanical weathering and chemical weathering. This also translates to digestion. So if you remember the uh, the format for that, then this should be a breeze. So in mechanical digestion, food is mechanically broken down. Well, what does that mean? So just like in mechanical weathering, the properties of the food does not change, but the food itself becomes smaller. So like in mechanical weathering, rocks don't change, but they become smaller pieces. So this would be like when we're chewing our food. Our teeth are used to grind and mash and make that food smaller, but it's still a hamburger, right? It hasn't chemically changed into anything. It's just smaller pieces of hamburger now. So chewing your food is just one example of how our body changes its size. Food is also mechanically changed in your stomach when your muscles in your stomach move the food around. Okay, now the second main type of digestion is chemical digestion. So, just like with mechanical digestion, the food is also just changing in our stomach through our stomach acids and enzymes. Our food is now changing. So, in chemical digestion, it's just like chemical weathering. The actual chemical structure changes. So, that ground beef in your hamburger is no longer really ground beef, or the starch in your bread is no longer actually starch. So let's figure out, what does this mean? So chemicals are produced by the body that break down the food. So this could be the enzymes in our saliva. That's actually like the first way that our food starts to break things down. Have you ever noticed like when you're eating a sucker, it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller? Well, the saliva in your mouth is what's breaking down that sucker and making it smaller. So the same thing when we eat anything, our saliva is starting to coat that food, and the chemicals and enzymes in our saliva is what is first starting to chemically change the food. Um, so once the food is made smaller by the mechanical digestion, so again, like us chewing, the chemicals can then further break down your food. So, for example, starch and bread is broken down into simple sugars. Sugars are used by cells as energy, and your body needs energy to maintain homeostasis, right? So we know like that's why we eat food is to stay alive. Like it's not just because like you're feeling hungry. I mean that's our first sign that like our body needs food. But why do we need the food? It's because our body's going to break that down and do something with it. So sugars are used as our cells for energy. So your cells are constantly reproducing in your body just to keep you going. Um, Diabetics have to be extremely careful. Like we're talking about, the starch in bread is broken down into sugar. So it started as a starch and now all of a sudden it's a sugar because of what our body has done to it. This is why people with diabetes have to be careful about the amount of carbs that they're eating. It's because it's going in as a carb, but what your body does to it turns it into a sugar. And we know that people with diabetes struggle with sugar control in their bodies, right? So those are our two main types of digestion. So let's go into absorption and elimination. Okay. So these are gonna this whole digestive part, like what we were talking about, this mechanical digestion and chemical digestion, really go with our first main function of the digestive system, and now we're getting into bullet point 2, where molecules are absorbed into the body, and then 3, wastes are created and released by the body. So after food is digested, the molecules are ready to be transported throughout your body. So this first definition where it says define, this is the definition for absorption. So it's a process by which the nutrient molecule passes through the wall of your digestive system into your blood. And this is where you're going to see me have to switch over to our second document. Okay. Materials that are not absorbed are eliminated as waste. So whatever our body is needing, it's going to take that, and whatever we don't need is eliminated as, like it says, as waste. So this is going to be like us going to the bathroom. The process of elimination of the food involves many organs in our digestive system. As the food is leached of many of its nutrients, the food is pushed into the colon. The colon is the final portion of the digestive tract before defecation. So here's a definition. The final act of digestion by which organisms eliminate solid, semi-solid, or liquid waste material or feces via the digestive tract from the anus. That was a mouthful. So this is just the process of us going to the bathroom. So when we talk about our bodies eliminating waste, that's what that is. It's just when we need to go to the bathroom, where our bodies are done with the nutrients that we need. Like it's taken all the nutrients from our food, and now we're getting rid of the stuff we don't need. And then it says here, story from gross science. I don't know what that's referring to, but if it's about poop and feces and all that stuff, it's probably good that we don't know what the story is. Okay, so let's move on to our mouth. So as you know, that's kind of like a weird transition. We're talking about poop, and then we're talking about now our mouths. Okay, so as you know, the food just does not magically just enter your body. Like you have to feed yourself, right? Just like we talked about, the process of eating food involves many different factors. So how to plant the crops, herbivores, carnivores. So are we plant eaters? Do we eat meat? That type of stuff. What foods are good for you? The relationship between foods and the environment in which they are eaten. So this is where I'm like, maybe you'll, if you're a vegetarian, some people are vegan, or they have to be on special diets just because of the way that their body works. So the relationship between foods and the environment in which they're eaten, you know, farmers like know all about this. So like what type of chemicals are they using on our foods like out in the crops, that type of stuff. The process of eating, of course, begins with our mouth. Like we have to put food in our mouth if we're going to start eating. Have you ever noticed your mouth watering when you're walking past a cookie shop? Definitely. Most definitely. That is so true. Smelling or even thinking about food will tell your body to start preparing for a meal. Like, I don't know how many times my husband has been like, Jordan, are you hungry? And I'll tell him no. And then literally 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh man, we need to start making dinner. I'm hungry. It's like that thought of food just goes in your head. And all of a sudden your body's like, oh yeah, I am hungry. Let's start making dinner. A simple scent of food will tell your stomach to start making stomach acid. It's just like a conditioned response. Um, it's because like so many times we've actually eaten, and so then our stomach has had to make acid. So now just the fact that like you smell food, your brain's thinking like, oh man, we're about to eat. I better start making stomach acid. So it's just a conditioned response. Both mechanical and chemical digestion occurs in the mouth. We kind of already talked about this. The fluid released into your mouth is saliva. Saliva is mainly water but includes some enzymes that help in the chemical breakdown of food into smaller particles. So like I said, that's why when you're sucking on a sucker and it starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller, that is your saliva and the enzymes that are in your saliva that are starting to chemically break that down. Okay, mechanical digestion in your mouth. So teeth are carrying out that first stage. We've already talked about that. Your center teeth are known as incisors. Okay, let's transfer over to part 3. So their goal is to cut your food into tiny bits. The teeth directly behind those are known as your canines. Um, they look like teeth from vampires. So these are the ones that are like your, well, let's see, you have your 2, 4, so your 6th tooth out on either side. So they're pointy ones. That's why they're saying they look like teeth from vampires. So these teeth, they tear and they slash food into smaller pieces. Behind the canines are your premolars and then your molars. So these teeth crush and grind our food even further. So it's not an accident that your teeth are shaped certain ways. Over the years of evolution, our body has figured out that we need our teeth to do certain things. As teeth do their work, the saliva moistens the pieces of food into a slippery mass that will easily flow through your body. So like I said, your saliva is coating your food so that you can easily swallow it and goes down nice and easy. And then it's also like breaking down that food because of the enzymes in your saliva. Okay, chemical digestion in the mouth. So imagine eating a cracker. If you suck on a cracker long enough, it begins to taste sweet. So that might be something you've never done before. Like I know I don't just get out a cracker and start sucking on it because that's weird. That's not something you would normally do. You take a bite of a cracker and you start chewing it and then you swallow it. Well, if you actually want to try this at home, it's so weird. But if you actually keep it in your mouth, don't chew it, just hold it into your mouth, it'll start to turn sweet. And that's because the enzymes in your saliva are turning the starch into sugar. So that's why it tastes sweet. So these enzymes are made up of proteins that speed up chemical reaction in the body. There are many types of enzymes in the body, but we will look into those at a later date. Okay, your esophagus. What is that? The definition of an esophagus is a muscular tube that connects the mouth to the stomach. Does food for you ever go down the wrong tube? So, yeah, that definitely happens to me. I feel like all the time, especially if I'm like drinking water or if I'm eating and not really paying attention. I'm like talking with someone or whatever. You kind of feel like you have something stuck in your throat or you have to cough it up and you're like, I'm fine. I just can't stop coughing. Well, technically there's only one tube that splits to become the passageway for food or the passageway for air. The flap of tissue that determines whether food enters the esophagus is known as the epiglottis. The definition of that is a flap of tissue that seals off your windpipe to prevent food from entering. The lining of the esophagus is covered in mucus. So the definition, a thick, slippery substance produced by the body. The food will slide easier down the tract in one smooth ball and with the aid of the mucus. Food remains in the esophagus for only about 10 seconds. And after the food enters the esophagus, contractions of smooth muscle punch the food towards the stomach. So it's just moving your food down. So this is going from, okay, I'm eating it, then I'm swallowing it, and now my body is pushing it down so that it gets finally to my stomach. Okay, so then your stomach. So a definition of your stomach, you might not know this, but it's a J-shaped muscular pouch. I know I don't ever really picture my stomach being J-shaped, but it sure is. And we obviously know that the stomach is located in our abdomens. So the stomach will expand to fit all the food an individual eats. And 1 second while I transition to part 4. As you can see, we're almost done. So this is where most of our mechanical digestion of food actually occurs. So mechanical digestion in the stomach, the layers of smooth muscle move in a churning motion to mix the food with fluids to continue digestion. So you can think of this just like a washing machine. You put your clothes in, and the washing machine is moving in a circular motion, trying to get the clothes to intermix with the water and the soap. It's the same thing with your stomach. Your stomach is literally like the muscles and your stomach are moving your food around, mixing it up so that it can mix in with your stomach acid and all the enzymes in your stomach so that it can move into then chemical digestion, which let's talk about that now. So chemical digestion in your stomach, your digestive juices is located in your stomach. So a definition of that, a fluid produced by cells in the lining of your stomach contains many chemicals such as hydrochloric acid. This acid helps kill any bacteria in your food. So this is so you don't get sick. Your stomach generally does not develop problems from the strong acid because the cells lining the stomach are covered with a thick layer of mucus. So this protects like our actual stomach because we know stomach acid is a very strong acid, and so it could cause problems. So I know like some people have issues with maybe acid reflux or stomach ulcers. Like I'll be upfront with you guys, I suffer time to time from stomach ulcers. And so they can be really painful because it's basically like almost kind of like a little hole. And I'm giving you guys like a very broad definition. There's a lot more science or more technical terms that go into maybe like a stomach ulcer. But basically, the stomach acid is kind of getting places where maybe it shouldn't be. And so it's very painful. So as long as your body's functioning the way that it should be, these cells that are lining your stomach are covered with that mucus that keeps your actual stomach safe from the acid. So food remains in the stomach until it's in a liquid form. So it just keeps breaking it down, breaking it down, breaking it down until now it's a liquid form. And when the food becomes a thick liquid, it moves into the intestines and completes the process of digestion. Okay, you guys made it. This would be like our first packet if we were actually in class. And so we like busted through this super fast. So if you have any questions on this, I want you to please, 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 please email both myself and Mr. Barth because we're both here to help you like with whatever you need. So maybe there was a certain part of these notes that you were like, oh, I need more of an explanation of what exactly was going on here. You have to let us know because we're just going to keep moving on. And so if we don't know that there's a problem, we can't help you. And you guys have learned like this stuff just doesn't go away. We in this class just keep building on our skills. So you guys will have assignments that go over this type of stuff. So again, if there was anything in this packet that you were like, I just really am not understanding what was going on here, you gotta let us know. Okay, well, I hope you guys have a super great rest of your day. I really miss seeing all your faces in class. I'm so bummed that this is the way that the rest of our school year has to go, but I'm so glad that like you guys are all freshmen, so I at least get to see you guys next year. So stay safe, stay healthy. We'll talk to you later. Bye.